We're a couple minutes early, but we're going to get started. I'm Liz Ryan, and I share empowered life and career advice. And tonight I'm answering questions, job search and career questions, and workplace questions, leadership questions, all those kinds of things. So if you have a question, put your question in the chat, and I'll answer as many questions as I can. And I also have questions that I brought with me, so I'll answer those questions too. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now, and this is a link to a video that I created called How to Get the Job You Deserve. And you can sign up at the link that I just posted. There you go. That's it. All right. So I've got some questions, like I said, that I brought with me, and I'm going to answer my questions. And then if you have a question for me or an observation or a situation that you want to share, then put the question in the chat and I'll answer your question too. All right. The very first question is from Art. And Art says that he's been in his job for 9 months. He likes the job, it's interesting. But the problem is that he's very isolated. He just does his job. He goes to an office and he does his job, but he hasn't gotten any feedback from his manager in 9 months. And he also hasn't had any one on ones. So Art sent me this question and he said, I have metrics that I have to hit and I'm hitting them. And I haven't had any complaints. I like the work. It's interesting, but I literally have had no feedback. Since I got the job and I started training, my manager has, said good morning and good afternoon and have a good weekend, but never talked to me about how I'm doing or whether I'm meeting the requirements of the job. It's really weird. I can wait another 3 months and I assume that I'm going to have an annual performance review and I'll get some feedback then. But it's kind of spooky to be in a job for 9 months and have no feedback whatsoever. Just going to check the chat and see what we got. Hey, Faith, I've been talking to a lot of people in my network and it's going well. They're all trying to help me land my next role, but it's just been introducing me to others, which is great, but no jobs. Okay. See if there's anything else at the end. I guess that's the end of your query. So the big thing when people make introductions is to use those introductions, not so much to say, hey, do you know about any other jobs? Because why would they? More than any one of us walking around, right? But do you have any suggestions for me? Or if you were in my situation, in my shoes, what would you do? Do you have any thoughts, any recommendations? That's really how networking can help. That is networking with strangers. These are introductions. So you can't do sort of the networking that I really recommend, Faith, and everyone is inside out, from you out. So networking with people you already know is just a million times more powerful typically than meeting people that you don't know through friends. And they say, okay, it's great to meet you. I don't really know who you should talk to because I have a job. I'm focused on my job, not so much helping other people fill jobs. And so they just oftentimes tend not to have a lot of really concrete, you should call this person or you should, go check out this company. The number one thing is to know what kind of job you want, specifically down to the job title, and to be branded as that very, very, very clearly on your resume. Now, I'm about to teach my job search course. My job search course is called Get Your Dream Job. And this year it's all new for 2026. And I'm going to start teaching that in a couple of weeks. So the link to get on the early bird list for that course when it launches is up above in the chat. It's that Jot form. You sign up. And when you get on that list, you're going to get a few things. You're going to get my new video, How to Get Your Dream Job. You're going to be on the early bird list for the course I'm about to teach, Get Your Dream Job 2026. And you're also going to be able to ask me a job search question that I'll answer privately by email one-on-one. So click on that link for sure if you're job hunting, because I'll teach you the entire process. But branding, clarity about your direction is number one, and branding is number two, meaning that it's extremely obvious and evident in your resume and LinkedIn profile, if you're on LinkedIn, what kind of job you want, and then also why you're a great candidate for that job. Demonstrated in stories, little stories about what you did at your past jobs, particularly the ones that are the most relevant to the hiring managers you're going to want to approach now in your job search. So here's the major benefit of getting that clarity that I call the point on the arrow for your job search. When you know down to the job title, what kind of job you want, like a senior internal recruiter in tech recruiting, for example, or a project manager in the implementation of finance systems or whatever, then you can extrapolate from there. Who is the hiring manager that is my target client, my target buyer, my target hiring manager by title? Because jobs, when we know the title, there's only 2 or 3 titles that person's likely to report to. And those people in the particular kinds of organizations that you want to work for, those are your market. Those are your targets. And so the clarity is like everything. A job search is a design project, and any design project, building a house, putting on a Broadway show, all the work is up front. All the work is up front, right? So getting out and networking is like the third step. That is your channel or your means of approach. And it's probably not super effective or even necessary or even helpful to you or beneficial until those other pieces are put to bed and you feel great about your resume and you feel great about your pitch, honestly, for the job you want, meaning you have to know it crystal clearly. Okay. How to not get disheartened. I'm going to come back to that in a second, Faith. How do you keep your spirits up during your job search when you get rejections? Okay. All right. How do you keep your spirits up in a job search when you get rejected? I want to make an analogy for you. Let's say that you were in a long-term relationship, a romantic relationship, and you guys break up. And now you're out there on the dating scene again. And you're going on first dates. Let's say you're using Hinge or Bumble. I don't know what the most popular dating sites are, but you're using dating sites, online dating sites, and you're going on first dates. And you go on a whole bunch of them, and you're having coffees and lunches and a few dinners with people. If it doesn't seem like the energy is really right or there's not a lot of resonance, is that a rejection? Super not, right? That's not a rejection. You went on a date, it wasn't a great date, you didn't have a good time, or you kind of had a good time, but the person doesn't call you back. It's not a rejection. Super important, incredibly important, not just as a job seeker, but in your career in general, to understand what rejection is and what it isn't. Not getting interviews is not rejection. And going on interviews and not getting advanced to the next stage is not rejection. Because if you count those things as rejections, yes, you will get disheartened and feel terrible about yourself. And that would be pointless. And it would weaken you and would make you sad for absolutely no reason and no benefit. None of that is rejection. A lot of these people, PA, design consultancy, do not deserve you. They don't literally deserve you in their company. So the idea that they're in a position even to reject you, like who are they? They're no one. The recruiting process, I'm sure you know by now, is broken, very, very badly broken. I come from that background. I'm an HR leader 1,000 years. Recruiting process has degraded so badly over the past 20 years that to conclude that you sent in an application to an applicant tracking system, ATS, they call it, totally broken system, 1980s technology, keyword searching, and they didn't interview you, that's a rejection, is like, maybe you've heard the old saying, holding a grudge is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to get sick, right? It doesn't work. You holding a grudge is not going to affect another person. You feeling bad about yourself is not going to affect those people, and it's going to make you feel bad and weaken you and poison you. You're not going to see, I didn't get the interview, I didn't get the job as a rejection. It wasn't the right thing. Now, as I said to Faith, and obviously I haven't seen Faith's branding materials, but that's the most important thing in your job search. The early stages, not let me throw out as many applications and resumes as I can. That will not help you until you are crystal clear about what kind of job you want, down to the job title and the type of employer. I want to be the digital marketing person in a startup, and particularly in the food industry, right? That's when you can brand yourself so powerfully because you know exactly what you want and you know exactly who those hiring managers are. And you can get on the other side of that wall, that invisible wall that theoretically separates you and us from them, and understand their life and what their pain is. And that's what allows you to be branded so strongly in such a compelling way. They almost can't help but interview you, right? It allows you to prepare for the interview too, so that you can go in there with confidence and really understand their life. And that's what job hunting is all about now. So when people send out a gazillion applications and they don't get many interviews, and then they turn that around and say, that's rejecting me. No, right? There's no rejection. Nobody even had an opportunity to reject you. Plus, they don't have the power to reject you. They're no one. They're a first date, right? They're no one in your life. They're not significant. And you don't want to give anybody power over you. The way to get a better job is to get clear about the job you want specifically and then brand yourself for that job. That's the first step. In the course I mentioned, Get Your Dream Job, those are the first two steps: your direction and then your branding. And then the third step is your channel, which is how am I going to get interviews? And that's going to be a combination of 5 different ways, of which that applicant tracking system, meaning applying for jobs online, is just one. And it's not the best one. It's not the best channel because of the volume of resumes and applications that are in there, and the fact that the system is so broken. We know it's broken. It's been getting more and more broken, sadly, over the years. So you cannot let anybody make you feel bad because they decided not to meet you. That right? We don't have enough emotional energy to look at the world that way. You are the CEO of your career. Nobody else gets to make you feel bad. Okay. I heard recently that you should give your job a 30-day notice before you go on a leave of absence. Is that true? I thought you could take a leave basically whenever, as long as your HR and the leave of absence team okays it. I That's so interesting. Chicago. I have been in HR since '84, and I've never heard that 30-day. Oh, sure, 30-day notice on a leave of absence, like a personal sabbatical, for sure. 30 days notice, very nice thing to do and very appropriate. And they have to approve that type of leave, right? Um, I need to go um, recover from some things that have been going on in my personal life, or I'm writing a book and I talked to you guys about it last year, and I'm taking 2 months off this summer to travel, whatever, for sure, 30 days notice or more. But there are leaves that are caused by family illness, right? FMLA, or your own illness or need for a procedure or whatever. You might not have 2 days. And this happens all the time, right? And it's no penalty. Your doctor writes a note. This person has to stop working immediately and deal with this issue. Yeah, no, there's no problem with that. So if you have to take a leave because you have to take the leave, then you take it. Um, that's yeah. I'm glad that you asked that question because no, it depends very much on the reason for the leave, and if it's something that just came up and must be dealt with. I mean, imagine, God forbid, one of your kids was sick or something. You wouldn't be able to give 30 days notice. So no, I think that's a myth, or maybe there's a misunderstanding somewhere because that's not a real thing. Okay, so okay, so the question was how not to get disheartened. I kind of touched on that, but the big thing is mindset in a job search. Look at entrepreneurs say, they have a saying, and the saying is, some will resonate at your frequency, like your brand of jazz and all that. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. Next. Somebody who doesn't get you doesn't deserve you. And not everybody's going to get you. Not everybody's going to get you or me or Chicago Made Punk or PA Design Consultancy or Faith or anybody. Not everyone is going to get you. And that's not a rejection. The most of the people, God bless them, walking around out there are not significant to you. We wouldn't expect them to get you or appreciate you or see your value or your talent. That is not a rejection. That is taking poise, and seeing that person as having the power to reject you is like holding a grudge, meaning taking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It's, you got to, job search is some will, some won't. So what? Next, 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 next. But don't send out gazillions of resumes until the resume sparkles and shines, right? Until it has a human voice and it tells the reader immediately, like your name, contact information, that is name, city, state, no street address, phone number, LinkedIn profile, URL if you got one, customized with your name. Mine is linkedin.com/IN/Liz Ryan. That's my name. That's the LinkedIn profile. And then your email address, a business or professional email address, right? Not like party girl, let's hang at Gmail, but your professional email address. And then it goes right to what kind of job you want. And it's going to say IT project manager for finance. I manage large scale implementations of whatever, I don't know, Oracle Finance, I don't know, whatever massive software processes are out there. In manufacturing companies at Acme Explosives, I implemented over 6 countries. You're using human voice. You're using full sentences, and you're telling them exactly what you want and intend to do in your next job. So it's crystal clear, and then you say why. And that's in the summary. That's before we get down to your career history. And by the way, that summary is not labeled summary. It's labeled with the job title that you want. Maybe you haven't had that job title. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's going to show right in the job history what job titles you have had. But if you're going for a director of marketing job, haven't been a director of marketing, you were manager of marketing, then you put director of marketing. If that's the jobs you're applying for, that's the title of your summary. Branding is your decision. It's nobody else's decision. A lot of people tell me, oh, I don't want to claim in my resume, credit for this project because I did it, but my manager really wasn't on board. Who cares? Your manager is, by this time, maybe no longer your manager, but it doesn't matter whether they approved of whatever you did or whether they even knew about it. If you did it and you can answer questions about it, you claim it. Branding is a reclamation process. It's reclaiming your entire path, whatever stories, whatever journey, whatever steps, it's yours. No one has the power or the authority to tell you not to tell the truth about what you've done in your life. And so that's what branding is. It's not saying, please, Your Majesty, I've done this and I've done that. Maybe you can find some of this stuff useful. No, it's deciding what you want to do and then telling the story of why you are an amazing candidate for those jobs. Okay. I had interviews with the same company for different positions, but didn't get the positions. At first, I was upset because I liked the job and it was something I've been looking to do. A couple of people did tell me maybe it's not a great company that doesn't deserve me. It felt great to hear that. Look, it's not in general, obviously, right? Great to hear, oh, that company is horrible. But when you've just interviewed twice and they didn't hear you, rather, they didn't hire you, and you might otherwise feel bad about yourself, to hear, oh, no, they didn't deserve you in the first place, is a really good feeling. And the fact is, there's going to be more people who don't deserve you than people who do. Just like in dating, just like in friendship, right? There's going to be more people who, nothing against those people, but they're just not your tribe, right? Then there are people that you really resonate with. So I'm glad that happened. I'm glad you heard that, because that reminds you that we get into the mindset, oh no, I'm going to the interview and I hope they like me. You'd never go on a first date with a stranger thinking, I hope they like me. It's kind of the same sort of setup, right? Go on a first interview to learn more. And you know what? Your confidence, not cockiness, but just regular confidence in the world, like you would walk into CVS to buy a toothbrush, right? Just, here I am doing this stuff. This is what I do. This is what's in my day today. going to CVS or Walgreens, buy a toothbrush, it's all good. Make small talk with the cashier, although it's all kind of like self checkout now. Same thing in a job interview. Hi, nice to meet you. It's not like, oh, am I doing okay? I have to rant a little bit. There's a commercial out. I've seen it 1,000 times. Amanda going on a job interview. It's Indeed.com. It's Indeed.com commercial. And here's this young Amanda, and she's in a suit and she's nervous. And she's going there, and these two like older white guys are there. Hi, Amanda. And they walk back with her, and she's all like this. It's so gross. Now, all love to the actors involved. I'm sure that any working actor and non-working actor, they're amazing. No criticism of them. But that is a horrible commercial because it just reinforces this idea. Oh, I'm so lucky to get the interview. Oh my God, maybe they'll choose me. What? Have you ever had a job that was like a nirvana job that was just so beautiful all day long and it was wonderful and there were no problems and you were just lucky to be there? And no, that's not realistic. Every job there's problems and there's issues and there's great challenges and hopefully great people, but it's not a privilege to get a job. You're not lucky when someone gives you an interview or hires you. They hire you because you can solve a problem that they cannot solve on their own. And we got to keep that in mind. Because the one thing nobody is allowed to take away from you is your dignity and your belief in yourself. I mentioned I was an HR person for 50,000 years at least, right? And people came into interviews. I know why they did, because it's set up as such a formal, weird, fake thing. But they'd be so nervous. And I'd say, you know what? Let's go to the coffee station, get a cup of coffee or tea, water, whatever you want. We're just going to talk. There's nothing formal here. I'm not going to intimidate you. You have any question, you ask the question. I say the same to you tonight. We're just trying to figure this out because we have this need. We have a need. A job ad is an ad, you guys. It is an advertisement, and it costs money to run that ad. They have a problem. They have a problem, and they need to be honest enough to say, we can't do this stuff on our own. We need help. But sometimes, unfortunately, companies, interviewers take this view like I'm up here and you're like the little nothing candidate. It's not that way. That's a lie. It's always been hard to fill job openings with great people, and it's hard now. So you are awesome. And it's not this setup where, oh, I hope they like me and it's an audition and I have to tap dance and sing a Broadway show tune and hope they like it. No, not all of these people deserve you. All right. Okay. You have a question? Leave a question in the chat. I'm going to answer some questions that I brought with me. Okay. So the first question, I was talking about Art when we started. He's been in his job for 9 months and he's hitting all the metrics. He's never had a one-on-one meeting with his manager or anybody else. He goes to meetings and he's doing the job and he actually likes the job. It's interesting, but he's kind of weirded out that he's been there so long and he's never had a meeting with his manager and the manager's never given him any feedback. He and the manager correspond, they email each other and they talk to each other face to face a little bit. A couple of things, Art. In 3 months, like you said, you're probably going to have your first annual review, but there's no reason to wait 3 months. That's a long time. 9 months is a really long time. I would send an email to your manager or just talk to your manager face to face when you see them, instant message, whatever the easiest way is, and just say, hey, when you have a minute, I'd love to touch base with you and just, give you my thoughts on what I'm working on and get your feedback, right? And then just do a little agenda. Here's my priorities. This is the stuff that I'm focusing on. Here's my goals between now and the end of the year. Here's what I've already accomplished, like a pre-review almost, but very informal, one pager, no blocks of text, just agenda style, like little bullet points. And say, I'd love to know, just sort of relative to other folks who come in here, how you think I'm doing. It's not great at all, obviously, that your manager hasn't given you any feedback and you haven't had any one-on-ones in almost a year, but you like the job and you're learning. And those are two really, really important things. So I'm not going to tell you go away and work somewhere else because your manager's been kind of asleep at the wheel in terms of your feedback and development. The manager might say, I'm sorry, Art, I've been, we're in the middle of this stuff with the reorg and whatever, we're buying the company or whatever's going on, or my personal life, and you've just been so self-sufficient that I'm sorry that months have just flown by and I haven't given you the time. But if we could meet certainly once a month or something and just touch base on what you're doing. But yeah, it's not a cause for alarm on your part. You've got the metrics that show you're doing your job well. But it is, I agree with you, weird and unsettling when your manager doesn't talk to you about how you're doing or give you that feedback that most human beings would appreciate. So have that meeting and see how you feel. But the guide to this stuff is always your trusty gut, your instinct, your instinct. If it feels like, you're getting back as much as you're putting into the job, brilliant, wonderful. And always it's prudent and appropriate to have in mind what you'd like to do eventually after this. Could be inside the company, could be somewhere else. Just have in mind, what do I want next, um, that I don't have right now. That's always an appropriate thing for everybody to do when you love your job, when you don't love your job, and so on. And obviously when you're job hunting. So if you have a question, put it in the chat and I will answer it. Um, I put a link up at the top of the chat, and that is the link to get my video, How to Get the Job You Deserve. When you sign up at that link, you're also going to get the you can ask me a question, and you'll be on the early bird list for my course, Get Your Dream Job, which is launching in a couple weeks. Okay. Another question. This one is from Annabelle. Hey, Liz, you say we should always be ready to make our next move, even when we love our job. So, how do I do that? Should I update my resume first? Great question, Annabelle. Yes, it's great to be ready to have that sort of exit ramp prepared because things change all the time. Not just that a job could go away or be at risk or unsteady, but you might decide you want something different. And even if you don't make that decision, a recruiter could reach out or a friend could reach out about an opportunity they heard about, and you want to be ready for that too. So here's the first step. It's not updating your resume. The old logic, let me update my resume with my current job, really is not that helpful because it misses the critical first step. What kind of job do you want? Just saying, here's what I do now. Yay. That doesn't help us. The number one thing your job search needs, every job search needs, is direction. One reason so many people don't get interviews is that we can't tell, literally looking at their resume or their LinkedIn profile, what kind of job they want. We literally can't tell, and they're not going to get an interview if they say, I kind of do sales and I kind of do marketing, because they won't look on paper or on the screen like a really great salesperson or a really great marketing person. Now, many of us have done a whole bunch of things, and that's fine, but we still have to decide what we want to do next and brand ourselves for the job we want, not every job that we could perform. So the first step, Annabelle, is to decide what you want next. Got to decide. Then you can brand yourself in your resume and your LinkedIn profile for the jobs you want. And then when your resume is really ready, you'll know you're going to feel excited and actually feel better about yourself when you read it. And if you're job hunting, your resume should make you feel good about yourself. And if it doesn't, if you wouldn't be excited to receive your resume, then it's not ready. It's not ready. And you can reach me at support@humanworkplace.com. That's my company, support@humanworkplace.com anytime. And we could talk about this. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Okay. So Annabelle, your assignment is to decide what kind of job you want next. And then you can brand yourself in your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Now, Annabelle, you're working. So you're not going to say everything in your LinkedIn profile unless you're looking for an identical type of job to the job you have. Because if you change your LinkedIn profile a ton, then you could raise alarms at work. And you probably don't want to do that. But you could certainly get your resume ready for a potential job search at any point when that would be appropriate. Okay, okie doke. So we talked about Annabelle and we talked about Art. Charlie. Okay. Charlie sent me his link to his LinkedIn profile. So Charlie, thank you for sending me the link to your LinkedIn profile and asking me to take a look to talk about on the live stream tonight. And here's the thing, Charlie, we haven't met yet, but I know you're awesome. And I know you're really, really good at what you do. And like most of us, like me, and basically everybody I know, you were taught a really horrible way to job hunt and to run your career. Well, if you're like most of us, you were taught not to run your career at all and just to leave your career in the hands of your employers. I mean, that's what we were taught. Get in with a good company and everything will be fine. No, it hasn't been true for 25 years, right? And it's less true every single day. Now, over half of US working people have been laid off at least once, and many, many of them have been laid off 2, 3 times. So if you've been laid off a bunch of times, it's obviously not you. When I was a young HR person, you know why companies laid people off? Because they were in distress and maybe going out of business. Now they lay people off for literally no reason, for just to make the books look better so they can stock price will go up at the end of the quarter and they can buy some more, AI and and use the increased stock price to buy more companies. I mean, you know. So layoffs are not have nothing to do with you. Working for a toxic manager, another reason people leave jobs. Obviously not your fault, has nothing to do with you. We are fighting this tide when you talk about, not feeling discouraged when you're on a job search and it's hard. We are fighting a tide of indoctrination that says you should feel bad about yourself for all kinds of reasons, right? I never want you to feel bad about yourself. If you want to do something healthy, get a journal and write in it, or just record on your phone or any device on the voice recorder, voice memo, the challenges that you have already surmounted in your life. You don't have to go into detail if it's traumatic. Just mention the challenges, even if it's just a coded language that only you would understand. That's enough. When you recall your path and the hills you've climbed already and the challenges you've surmounted and conquered already, it's mind blowing. It's amazing how much of a warrior you are. And so don't let anybody make you feel bad because you got laid off or because you got fired. I mean, that's a topic for another live stream. I've been fired like 3 or 4 times, not laid off, fired because they wanted to fire me. They decided I wasn't their cup of tea. And I knew at the time, like, are you kidding me? You're trying to squash me by firing me. I knew I was a good employee, but they just didn't cotton to me. They didn't like me. So this is the mechanism to squash people's flame. Oh, you're fired. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, luckily the first time was Burger King. Like, okay, well, it's going to take me like 9 minutes to go across the street and get a job at Dunkin' or whatever. But this is their thing. Like, firing isn't even a thing. It's not even a real thing. It's just because you just leave a job. Doesn't matter whether you said goodbye first or they said goodbye, but it's like, oh, you're fired, the mark of shame. That's part of the mechanism. That's part of the training. Oh, you don't ever want that to happen. Why? Because you'll feel bad about yourself. No, only if I buy into this fiction that I got fired because I was bad at my job. I knew I wasn't bad at my job. Guy just didn't like me. I was 18, Burger King manager's 19, and he wasn't into my brand of jazz. Almost like literally jazz, because I was a music student, but classical. But yeah, this is how the system works, how we keep people in line. Firing is all about keeping people in line, the threat of termination. So you're just not going to buy into any of that. All right. Should you tailor your resume for each application? If your overall direction is clear, PA, if your overall direction is fairly narrow, you're not going to have to tailor your resume too much for each application, right? But if you go on the company's website or read the job ad or listen to the CEO's podcast or read their blog and you see something and you want to mention it because it's relevant, definitely do that. But you don't have to tailor. I would not say that you have to tailor your resume for every single application, but when your direction is narrow enough, it's going to serve numerous applications and it's going to be fine. I do have one suggestion for filling out online applications. As I mentioned, that's not the best way to get a job. It's the easiest way because it's just click, 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 but it's not productive. So I don't want you to think, oh my God, I applied for 200 jobs and I only got 4 interviews and I'm a horrible person. No, it's set up that way. I've been anti bulk recruiting like that since before it existed. I mean, I don't mean to say I told you so, but I'm gonna, because I was working in the building with monster.com. They were upstairs, one floor above from the startup where I was working in 1999, and they were working on monster.com, and I would talk to them down in the cafeteria where all the startup people would gather, and they'd say, this is the greatest thing. I said, I hate it. I'm an HR person and I hate it. Making it easy to apply for a job, like click, 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 just means everyone in the world's going to apply for every job. Stupid, right? It's stupid. It doesn't help. Technology kind of killed recruiting. Didn't help recruiting. It didn't. And then you're going to screen people by keywords. Have you met actual people, living people in the world? You don't. That's not how people shake out. The people with all the keywords you want are not necessarily people you want in your company. You would think that would be obvious, but now they're learning. I mean, it's like taken 20 years. And that database technology, ATS, applicant tracking technology, hasn't improved. It's the same. It's horrifying. Go through screen after screen after screen, and then they still want you to upload your resume. I don't even. It's just the worst application of technology I think I've ever seen in my life. All right. Anyway, we were talking about Charlie, who sent me his LinkedIn profile. So, Charlie, you are awesome. Your LinkedIn profile is a great illustration of the problems that we get when we follow kind of the traditional advice, because your headline on LinkedIn says versatile sales and marketing leader with experience in professional services and healthcare. So that makes me think you've worked in professional services, which I looked down below in your career history, and you did in an accounting firm, professional services firm, accounting firm, and as a marketing person, and in healthcare, also as a marketing person and in sales. And that headline's not going to help you. That's a huge reason why you're not hearing from recruiters. And I assume if your resume is the same, you're not getting interviews, because you have to decide healthcare and professional services, unless there's an intersection consulting firm around healthcare or something. There's no reason to mention those two industries that you've already worked in. They're not even relevant to your job search. You got to decide, Charlie. Like I've been saying tonight, you got to decide what job you want, and then you're going to brand yourself for that. Leader in marketing and sales is like a non-starter, as my sporty friends would say, because it doesn't mean anything. There's no job for that. You got to decide. Remember, you're marketing yourself just like a job ad is marketing the company to you. So you've got to decide precisely, what job do I want? And then you can brand yourself for that job. Okay. So, Charlie, get on the list of the Get Your Dream Job list that I posted the link before. It's going to take you exactly through that process of how to zero in on what job is best for you next, and then how to brand yourself. Because good branding and traditional branding have like nothing in common, and one of them is going to get you interviews, and the other one just isn't. All righty, let's see. Okay. Hi, Liz. I want to get into independent consulting. I've been working for a not-for-profit for years and I like it, but I want to consult on my own, specifically doing grant writing. I've written huge grant applications for several not-for-profits. They got the money and I want to take my business out and do it for myself. How do I start? Okay. So I love that you've already identified the kind of consulting that you want to do, and you want to do grant related consulting. You want to do grant writing, meaning working with organizations that need money from foundations and other donors, right? And you want to, or funders, and you want to write grant applications for them because you have a track record of writing grant applications that get funded, they get the money, right? So these not-for-profits run on grant money, right? They have to have it. Maybe corporate sponsorships, maybe individual donors, maybe some program fees, but a lot of it is this grant money. And if you can't write good grants that get traction, you're not going to get the money and you're going to go out of business. So it's a very important service. And that's the number one thing in consulting, is to solve some kind of pain. And this is a big pain point for not-for-profits. Now, this is an important thing for job seekers too, because we also, as job seekers, have to focus on What kind of pain do I solve? And a lot of us don't. We say, I have these skills. Well, but so what? What does it mean? What do you do with those skills? And that's where storytelling is so important. But we're not taught to brand ourselves with storytelling. We're taught to say, I have 6 years of experience writing grants. Well, I mean, did any of the grant money come through? Right? That would be pointless. So, what you're going to do in your LinkedIn profile, and if you have any other marketing materials, if you have a website, you don't really need a website to be an independent grant writer. I don't want you to spend a bunch of money on a website, but you're going to say, I write grants. If you specialize in the arts or children and family services or whatever you specialize in, say that for sure. And then give your dragon slaying stories. I wrote the grant proposal that got us a $37,500 grant to create a new program for underserved young families in Cincinnati. Boom. And it led to the development of this and that, and it was recognized by the governor of Ohio. Tell the story. There was a problem, and here's how I solved it. And this was the impact of me doing that work, doing that good work. And we all need to know how to write these dragon slaying stories. For someone working in the business world, it's similar format, but a little different, context because it's the business world. So, for example, a dragon slaying story for a marketing person might be in my manager's absence, I launched an email a marketing campaign that generated $17,000 of sales in 2 days. Boom. We don't even have to say the impact because the $17,000 was the impact, right? Storytelling, not I have experience in this or that, but what'd you do with it? Did it make a difference? We need to talk about impact, and it needs to be relevant to the hiring manager we're seeking to interact with, to talk with, right? But we don't learn storytelling. And that's why I teach this in job search, because I know as an HR person on the other side of the desk how unbelievably powerful it is when you get a resume and it has stories in it, little short stories. I call them dragon slaying stories because they talk about times when you slew a dragon. If you do not like the idea of harming dragons, although they're mythical, I understand that. Just training the dragon, taming the dragon, whatever. Dragon taming stories. But this is what we want to do in a resume is tell these little stories. How much graphics and how colorful should one's resume be? Oh, I love the British spelling. Are you in the UK or Canada? If you're a graphic designer or an illustrator, yes, all kinds of color and graphics. Otherwise, no. My advice is no. It uses up space and it doesn't add interest. Maybe if you're a writer, because there's this idea of, sort of visual content, yes, but otherwise, no. One typeface throughout, maybe a different typeface for your name, which should also be larger at the top of your resume. But otherwise, I don't even want to see the horizontal lines or anything because it's really just what's the content? What are the words? So let me tell you a couple things not to do in your resume. Since you asked that great question about 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 graphics, don't say superior or excellent communication skills in your resume. Anybody know why not? You could put it in the comment in the chat rather if you have an idea why you wouldn't want to say excellent communication skills or superior communication skills in your resume. I'm going to do the Jeopardy music. Da 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 beep beep dee 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 dee. The reason you don't want to say, yeah, everyone does it. That's a really good one. P8, that's a really good answer. Everyone does it. And also, think about it. If we talked about dating sites before, and there's a lot of parallels between dating and job hunting, tons of parallels that we could talk about another time. It's really interesting. If you went on a dating site and you saw a profile and there's photos, and then the person says, I'm really sexy and good looking. What would you think? You would think that's really weird because there's photos. I have eyes. I get to decide. You don't tell me you're sexy and good looking. I decide. Every one of us on this site decides for ourselves. So it's just kind of weird and grovelly and also fearful and icky for you to tell me that you're sexy and good looking. It makes me not want to meet you. When you say excellent communication skills, use them. Show me. Show me. Right? What's this show? The musical show. The Audrey Hepburn was in the movie. My Fair Lady, right? Audrey Hepburn, she plays Eliza Doolittle. She's got this suitor. She's got this young man that's into her, right? And he comes to her house. He sings this wonderful song. I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before he's in love with her. And she says, his name is Freddie. She says, Freddie, don't talk of love lasting through time. Da 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 da. Show me, show me. Yeah, show me. She wants him to like show her, like be real with me, right? Show the communication skills. Don't talk about them. Just like on a dating site, you're not going to say, I'm a great guy and everybody loves me. Dude, show something interesting. Don't say I'm smart. Show something smart, right? Don't say anything on your resume that you could show and should show. You're actually using valuable resume real estate to talk about something that you should be using the real estate to demonstrate. Just have great communication skills right now. This is your best chance ever in your life to have those great communication skills rather than talking about them. And so that's why we never want to declare something. I'm a great salesman. Well, tell me what you did. Why would I take your word for it? I don't know you. So we don't want to, in general, use praising adjectives in our resume anywhere. I am smart. I am savvy. I am seasoned. I am versatile. I am this or that. Just tell me the story and I will decide whether to be impressed. And I'll be more impressed if you do less self-praising, which is a fear-oriented, fear-based behavior. You are amazing, but you got to feel your power before anyone else will see it. So you don't want to claim it rather than just live in it, right? And write your resume out of that. You know what I mean? That's very important. Mindset is more important in your job search and your career than anything else. It's more important than anything else. It's the belief that only the people who get you deserve you, that you are going to get a good job and it won't be the first or the second application you send out, might not even be an application, that you are on your path. You're going to take charge of your career and your life. You're going to take charge of your job search. You're going to go out looking for the person who resonates at your frequency, not rolling over and playing the submissive dog and trying to please everyone you meet. That is going to waste so much of your energy on such a sort of pointless and discouraging and power squashing activity. I never want you to do that. You are too good. It might be sometimes people find that getting out of their head, getting on their bike or a treadmill or taking a long walk, or, you know, a lot of times when people get laid off, they organize their closets and they get very physical. That's a really good thing to do because it gets you out of your fearful brain and back into your body. Like, damn it, you know, I'm smart and I deserve a good job and I'm going to go out there and find one. And I'm not going to just sit behind my computer and click, 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 and then say, oh, I sent out 40 resumes today and I hope somebody likes me. No, I'm going to go volunteer. I'm going to go to the soup kitchen. It's literally better for your job search than sending out another 30 applications. That is like beating your head against the wall. You got to get back in your power, and then that will radiate out of you. I know this sounds very like hippie-tized. No, I'm from Northern New Jersey. It's the least woo-woo place on earth, okay? This is real. Your energy, your mindset reflected in your outward energy is more important than anything else, right? Sometimes people tell me about ridiculous, insulting interview questions they were asked. Just so dumb. It really frustrates me that anybody would think that the question, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be, is relevant to a job interview. It's really insulting to ask those kindergarten questions. Like, what does it have to do with anything? That's not how you're going to make a hiring decision. And I don't mind when people get mad. I don't want anybody to be mad, but when they say, I'm just so frustrated, it's like, be frustrated at that and view that as, yeah, I don't want to work there. Like, I don't want to work there because I am looking for a job. I need money to pay the bills. And for you to use up both of our time to say, so just a fun question I like to ask is, if you were on Mars, like yeah, guess I'm struggling to think how, as an adult, because that's this in another format. That's I'm up and you're down, and you have to answer any question I ask you because nah. Sometimes when you walk out of an interview, and you can walk right out of an interview. You do not have to wait until they decide it's over. You're not captive. They're getting paid. You're not getting paid. If you decide it's time to leave an interview, you go, you bail. I made a video about that not long ago. How I walked out of an interview. Lady was so mean. I sat down and she said, I don't know if you're even qualified for this job. You don't have a degree. And I said, um, interesting, because I would have thought you noticed that the first time you looked at my resume, unless this is the first time you looked at my resume. As I'm sitting down in the chair, she's the head of HR. I'm applying for an HR job, and I didn't have my degree at the time. And I didn't say all that, right? I didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't have the guts. I said, "Oh, well, okay, no problem. I don't want to keep you in that case. Change the energy. Oh, you don't think I'm qualified for the job? Okay, no problem. No problem." I said, I seldom come to downtown Chicago during the week, so I saw some shops. Maybe I'll just check those out. Yeah, no, baby, you're not gonna put me down and expect me to say, "Oh, sorry, I don't have a degree." Your mom, like, what? No, we're not playing like that. And she said, "No, no, no, you don't need to go, but that's just a concern." I said, "Oh, no, no, it's totally fine." Wham, I'm out. Because why would I stay? I already know I don't want to work for this witch. I don't want to work with you, and I'm done. And you know what? The next hour and a half, when I didn't go back to my office because they expected me gone for half a day, I had asked for half a day off. It was magical. It was amazing. I still needed a new job, but I'm not going to work in that place. And I felt some power. And you feeling your power is more important than anything. That's how you're going to get the job you deserve, is when you feel it in you. I was laid off when I asked for growth. What? I'm a manager, and my request was to the VP of operations. Learning had plateaued. I did work there for 5 years already. I feel like I'm starting over. Okay, so you went to your VP and you said, you know, I've learned a lot here. I'd like to keep learning. I'd like to learn some new things, some new challenges. It's been 5 years. And their response was to lay you off and say you don't work here anymore. Is that about what happened? That's very intense. That is Mother Nature, whoever you follow, saying they don't deserve you. It was your instinct that inspired you to talk to the VP. Because I got to tell you something, you are a superhero, all right? A lot of people would not have done it. A lot of people would not have gone to the VP, but you said, whether you were conscious of it or not at that moment, you said, I want, need, and deserve to keep growing. And I'm going to talk to my VP because my VP is the person who can best make this happen. And if they are the right person to continue to work with me, they're going to say, oh my gosh, of course, let's put a plan together and let's get you that continued development that you deserve that will benefit you and the company. But they couldn't rise to the occasion. How dare you come to me? How dare you stand up on your own 2 feet and say, I need something, Your Majesty? No, goodbye, you're gone. Thank you. Thank you for being so crystal clear about your own abilities and inability. Your inability to actually be a leader. You had to get me out of here because I dared to say, I have aspirations for bigger things. That's pathetic. I'm very glad you're out of there. I'm sorry it was so difficult. I hope they gave you a severance package for that transition because it sounds like you did literally nothing wrong. I'm a big non-fan of employment at will, if you're familiar with that. That's the US legal doctrine that lets companies lay you off for no reason with no severance no notice. I think it shouldn't be legal. It's not legal in any other developed nation, industrialized nation, but it's legal here. And hopefully, in due course, we'll get rid of it because it's absolutely criminal. They did that. That is 3 months. Thank God. Thank God. Okay, it's not. It's not enough. It's you deserve more. But wow, wow. It's well, wonders never cease. That's intense. Meet with the VP, adult to adult, professional to professional. I've shown you what I'm capable of for 5 years. Like to keep learning, keep growing. Yeah, no, you're laid off. Okay, okay. But I hope that fires you up a little bit. You didn't deserve any of that. It's shocking. It's horrendous. But it says, wow, okay, so Mother Nature is in charge. And she said, or whoever they are, they said, yeah, you deserve better. And I hope you feel that in your heart. You deserve better than that place where they couldn't even look you in the eye and say, you know what, I don't know if we're going to have those opportunities for you. And you're welcome to keep working here in this role and kind of doing what you're doing. But I just don't know if no, they couldn't even do that. Couldn't even do that. People will astonish you on both ends of the spectrum, right? With just being so much more of a guide and a mentor at times and a teacher than you expected. I hope that's happened to everybody here as well a few times. And then they'll surprise you on the negative side too by just being incredibly petty and what do you even call that? Oh, the one person who went to the VP to say, you know, I'd like to keep growing. That oh no, you're terminated. That's no confrontation. No. Okay. But you're not starting over. You're only starting over in the good sense of reinvention, like reinventing myself. What can I do now? Does it have to be the same job? No, it could be a different job. It could be what I've thought about doing. It could be, there's so many things. The big thing about reinvention is that it's almost overwhelming, right? It's like you're probably going to have dreams and daydreams and memories and songs that come into your head and reinvention is a very intense time in your life. It's happened to pretty much all of us, right? It's like anytime you leave a situation and you have to decide what the next one is going to be, it's very overwhelming at times. And so I encourage you to just give yourself grace and space and just remind yourself every day with affirmations. I just heard something the other day that I thought was really, really helpful. And that is to get out a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle of it, a vertical line, splitting the piece of paper into two sides. And on the one side, write old story. And on the other side, that's the left. And then on the right, write new story at the top of the page. And then make two lists. And under old story, you're going to list those limiting beliefs that we all have, right? I'm not good enough. I didn't finish my degree. I don't have this certification. I'm not as organized as I should be, whatever, all those things. I can't do this stuff. I don't understand, whatever. Okay. And then on the right-hand side, not at the same moment, but the next day or a few days later, let your highest, most elevated, most inspired self, highest version of you, address each of those concerns. The old story is the concerns, the limiting beliefs, and the right hand side of the page is the new story is degree doesn't matter. Anyone who doesn't see your talent doesn't deserve you. It's fine. It's a self-selecting arrangement, right? I'm not organized. You're as organized as you need to be, and you're getting better every single day. You have a different way of organizing the world around you, a really creative way. It's not the standard way, maybe, right? And that's okay. We're all different. I'm not good enough. You've always been amazing and way better than you think. And I, your higher self, are here to remind you of that. Okay. When you've got those two lists, get out your phone or some device, a laptop, whatever, and play some inspiring music that you like. And then record yourself speaking over the music those new beliefs, the new story from the right hand side of the page. And that will make a 30-second, 45-second, minute, minute and a half audio voice memo in your phone that you can listen to first thing in the morning when you wake up and before you go to bed at night. Because what you say to yourself affects you. It really affects you. And we get beaten down and we have to bring ourselves back up. And that's a really concrete and simple way to just remind yourself that with all of the things that you've been through, you are a warrior, you are an incredible champion, and you're just getting better and stronger all the time. And you don't need every single person to approve of your brand of jazz, and they won't, right? You are mighty. You are mighty. And I want you to keep that in mind. All right, let's see. Will you be doing more of these live streams? Yes, indeed. Coupling frequency with positivity. Yes. Okay, yes. Here's my live stream schedule. The first Wednesday of the month, I do this live stream on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then 2 other times during the month, the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday, I do another live stream inside our community. We have the career community, which is a Mighty Networks community. That's a community hosting site. And I don't have the link right now. But if you write to me at support@humanworkplace.com, that's my email address, I'll send you the link to join if you're interested to join that community. Our course, which is coming up, Get Your Dream Job, and that's coming up towards the end of May. Folks who join that course will be in the community. So don't join the community if you're going to do the course because it comes free with the course. And so you'll be in our community and you'll be in all the live streams that we do in there. And between the live streams in that community, I answer questions every day. So folks are asking questions and I'm answering, and they're also answering. So that's the community aspect of everybody's helping everybody else. And there's a ton of content in there and courses and other things. So yeah, so live streams are fun, aren't they? Right. And we'll have to set up a subscribe button if we don't have one here on the LinkedIn account so that you'll get a reminder. There might be a subscribe button actually, so that you could get a reminder and you don't have to remember. But if you put it in your calendar, it's the first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. All right. Okay. How are we doing? Oh, it's 8:00. That's it for this time, but I'll be back in the first Wednesday of June. And you can always reach me at support@humanworkplace.com. And then here in the chat, you'll see the link to join the early bird list for our course, Get Your Dream Job 2026, which is opening up in a couple of weeks. And that's the full job search protocol. I wrote it, of course, recorded it, but I recommend it really, really highly because it's the motivation and it's the how to, and it blows away the kind of traditional, lame, no offense, uh, useless traditional job search advice, which is kind of like so hopeless, a slog, and it just gives you so much more power over where your job search and your career go. All right. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. You're so awesome. And I'm very, very grateful that you took some time with me tonight and always here to help. So let me know what you're dealing with and how we can, jump on it. Take care. Have a great evening and a great rest of the week.